Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. That puts us into the rumor mill, nerds. And in today's rumor mill, we have some music rumors to refute. We have a new source on that Punisher rumor we've been keeping tabs on, as well as Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer and a whole bunch of new rumors to talk about as well. So let's jump into confirmations, refutations. We have one refutation that, oh man, I don't think I should have to refute, but here we go. We have the official word from the Ben Weinman from Dillinger Escape Plan, one of my favorite bands of all time, probably top 10 bands of all time, had to come out and say, actually, no, we're not going to be playing live as Dillinger Escape Plan. I don't know where you've heard that, but there's no plan to do such thing. There's no reunions in the near future for the Dillinger Escape Plan, nor probably in the distant future at this point either. So, yeah, I didn't realize this was a rumor until doing research for today's episode, and now we've just shot it down. So there you go. Our one new source, again, has to do with the Punisher, Jon Berenthal returning as the Punisher. This new source is saying that it will be in Phase 5 that we get the new Punisher series on Disney+. I don't know. So this is a much better source than we've had around this, though I think that this source's source is the same as the other sources we've been talking about. So I don't think it should really bump this one up much more than it already has. So we're going to go somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60-65% likely that we will be seeing Jon Berenthal return as the Punisher. And then as far as Phase 5, that's rumor based on rumor effectively, so we're going to say 50% on the Phase 5 portion of that. All right, so continuing on into the brand new rumors, we have Black Hammer, the Jeff Lemire comic book IP, is getting the full universe treatment from Amazon Studios. Over on Amazon Prime, Lemire has signed a contract that they are going to do what they can to include multiple series and movies surrounding the Black Hammer comic book. This one comes from fantastic sources. Honestly, this is one of those that very likely will be properly announced within the next 2 to 3 weeks because the source has that good of a track record. So we're going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 80% likely that this is going to be a thing because that's how good of a track record they've got. Next, we're talking about Into the Spider-Verse 2. And there's actually one that I missed for this. I saw the headline and just kind of ran out of time as far as research goes. So we're not talking about all of the potential rumors here, but these are the ones that we got. We have a couple. First up is Tom Holland is said to be coming back to voice himself in the Spider-Verse sequel. Also, it looks like even if he doesn't return to do his own voice, his version of Spider-Man is going to be in this movie, so he could potentially be voiced by somebody else if, you know, scheduling things happen and he can't make it. Or, you know, contract issues pop up, because that is bound to happen from time to time as well. Also rumored to be in this are Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And along the same lines of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, we have original or former animation voices, I guess I should say, former animation voice actors Josh Keaton and Christopher Daniel Barnes, all rumored to be making vocal cameos, if you will, in Spider-Verse 2. This all comes from the same source. Actually, no, that's a lie. Everything but the Tom Holland stuff comes from the same source. So Tom Holland has actually been corroborated by a number of exceptional sources. The rest of this comes from almost new source. Like, I've used this place once or twice. Nothing really noteworthy about them. So we're going to do this in two separate likelihoods. Tom Holland, so I guess this is almost three, because there's two levels to the Tom Holland part. Will Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man be present in the Spider-Verse sequel? I think that's got a the likelihood for it. I think we're going about 70% that we'll see Tom Holland's visual likeness appear as a version of Spider-Man in the sequel. Yes. As far as will Tom Holland do the voice, that's rumor based on rumor. We can only go to 50%, though I think that's a hard 50%. I think that is almost as definite as the likeliness that we'll see his face in the movie. We'll also hear his voice. So there's that. And then the other rumor, the Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Josh Keaton, and Christopher Daniel Barnes, the four of them coming in to do voices as Spider-Man, I think that's a little slim. I think we're going about 40% there. Just because I think that might be a little generous even, because I think it's... I think the more likely option is that these people's voices, because they're not all voice actors necessarily, but these people's voices will all be present as cameos as something else. I think that is more likely. We're going to put that one at 50%. So I lied twice because we did that in 4 separate things, kind of 2 groups of 2. So yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting with Spider-Man. Let's move on now to Wonder Man. We have a different rumor for Wonder Man. This is not news sources saying the same things. This is news sources saying new things. Bob Odenkirk, aka Saul from Better Call Saul, or Bob from Mr. Show with Bob and David. That's the same guy. So Bob Odenkirk is rumored to be cast in the Wonder Man movie or series. I think that's still up in the air, as Simon Williams' manager. So if you remember, Wonder Man is a stuntman in Hollywood in the comics, and apparently that's going to be the direction they go with this live action IP that supposedly Yahya Mateen II is going to be playing the Wonder Man that is in this live action adaptation. And so now Bob Odenkirk is being rumored to be playing his manager, and that's noteworthy because Bob Odenkirk wouldn't just take some tiny little role. So it looks like if this rumor is to be believed, they're going to be going with the version of the manager, because that character has had a number of managers through the years. The version of the manager who was a villain for the Wonder Man character all at the same time. So that honestly sounds awesome. Not a great source, though, sad to say. There are much stronger indications that Yahya Abdul Mateen II is going to be playing Wonder Man than Bob Odenkirk is going to be playing his manager. So we said Yahya being Wonder Man is roughly, I think it was like 65 or so percentage. I'm going to put this one just above halfway because it's not a horrible source, just not one of my best. So we're going to say probably we're right about 55% likelihood that Bob Odenkirk is going to be in the Wonder Man live action adaptation. So moving right along, we next have a Star Wars leak. So leaks, and this is a solid leak too. This is not even like it leaked from questionable sources, like the Hideo Kojima leak that we're not talking about in this episode, just because there's way too many probabilities that this is not a real thing. Anyway, so we have a Star Wars leak that is Star Wars Zen, Grogu, and the Dust Bunnies. It seems that this has been leaked by Italian Disney Plus, which is why I say it's much more likely to happen than the other one. It is going to be presented to us sometime in the next 2 weeks, according to the leak, as another special event on Disney Plus. So this one I think we're going to take in two pieces, just because we have placeholder dates that happen and those are not usually accurate. So will we see a special event on Disney Plus called Star Wars Zen, Grogu, and the Dust Bunnies, or something akin to that? I think that's pretty strong. I think that's very likely. I think, honestly, it's more likely to be in December, but either way, I think it's pretty likely. Probably going to be an animated feature, I would imagine. So we're going to put the likelihood that we see that movie, or a better English translation of that movie title. We're going to put that one right about 80%. Like, this is kind of in the territory of I would be surprised if it doesn't actually happen. Will it be November 12th? I don't think so. I think we're going to put that one at about 30%. No, I don't think that that part of the leak was accurate. I think that's a placeholder date. And if we're far too close to that date for them to have not said anything at this point. Will it potentially happen 2 weeks before Christmas? That seems much more likely. So yeah, that's what we've got on that one. Let's move next to Ryan Murphy is talking about rebooting Glee, if you want to believe reports. And Ryan Murphy gets what Ryan Murphy wants. So if this is to be believed, and I think it is, to some degree, I don't think it's going to be... I think it might be like a movie or maybe a straight to streaming situation. I don't think it's going to go broadcast. I think it's going to go to Hulu or something like that. Yeah, I think Ryan Murphy gets what Ryan Murphy wants, and so we're going to put this one at 70%, just because it's not a great source, but yeah, there's reason there. Anyway, next we're talking about Superman. This one's pretty huge, honestly. There are rumors surrounding the fact. So Steven Spielberg met with David Zaslav. Like, that is undebatable. There is evidence, there's hardcore evidence that this happened. So the rumor is the reason they met is because Spielberg is in talks with Zaslav to direct Man of Steel 2. That's right. One of the greatest directors of all time is potentially going to direct The Big Blue Boy Scout. So this one seems way too fan theory-ish, too fan fiction-y to say that it's, I don't know. I feel like, again, we do know that the meeting happened. We do know that it was kind of sort of in public on the Warner Brothers lot. So, like, there would be more than just a small handful of sources saying that this was a thing. So, I don't know, I just get the strong impression that they were talking about something else, especially considering that Man of Steel 2 would very likely have to come out pretty dang quick in order to capitalize on the Henry Cavill situation and so on and so forth. And Steven Spielberg's hands are pretty tied for a little while with this whole Avatar situation, because he's still making Avatar 3. Like, I don't think that, the timing doesn't align for this to be legit. So while I want it to be a thing, I don't think it's going to be. We're going to say probably 25% likelihood that Steven Spielberg will have anything to do with a Man of Steel 2 movie. Next on our list is another Star Wars rumor. This one has to do with Deadpool director Sean Levy is reportedly been brought in to direct his very own Star Wars movie as well. I feel like if we had a list of all of the directors who have been given the opportunity to direct a Star Wars movie that haven't come to fruition, we would be here all day trying to list them off. So I think this is we're just adding to that list. This is fan theory at best. I'm going to say 20% likelihood that Sean Levi is going, or Levy, I don't know how his last name is pronounced, and I apologize. But yeah, I don't think that he's going to be a Star Wars director. It just, until we get stronger evidence other than just people saying, well, I think, we're going to say, again, 25%. So, staying in the Deadpool 3 vein, we have word that Owen Wilson's character from Loki, better known as Agent Mobius, will be making an appearance in the Deadpool 3 movie. I think that has a pretty strong possibility, because the nature of the Loki series is fairly fourth wall acknowledging. I don't know if it's breaking, but it's fourth wall acknowledging to a certain degree. And Deadpool is Deadpool. I think that it seems like a reasonable rumor, if you will. Just because I'm hopeful, we're going to put this one right about 50%, which I think is a little generous, but it would be good fan service to do that. So, and Disney is kind of in need of some fan service these days. Next, we're talking about a DC Universe rumor over from DC Studios. We have rumor that Lobo is going to be introduced into the DC Universe rather soon. And not only that, but Jason Momoa is teasing that it might be him. is teasing, is feeding the rumor mill in ways by being super vague about some new DC property that DC project rather, that he's going to be a part of. So, I think there's a lot of trolling going on here. I think there's a lot of gauging fan reaction that's going on here. I think there's a lot of not actually putting the wheels to the ground kind of stuff going on here. So I'm gonna say probably, as it stands right now, because Momoa is already Aquaman, like that just seems ridiculous that he would be two major DC characters. So we're putting this one at about 35% just because of all of those factors. Next, we're talking about PlayStation. There's another gaming rumor. This one is not game specific, but console specific. There is a rumor that PlayStation 5 is getting a new slim model, a cheaper model, if you will, much like the PlayStation 2. And I don't think PlayStation 3 or 4 got a slim model, but PlayStation 2 definitely did. And that is kind of the genesis of this rumor. And it seems that there's a little bit of evidence to coincide with this. If you are familiar with the Austin Evans YouTube channel, he recently did a video where he took apart 3 different iterations of the PlayStation 5, and you can see that they have been actively working to minimize the guts of the console. So now, with that being hard fact, hard evidence proving these things are happening, and now we get this insider information that PlayStation, or Sony specifically, is looking to make a second SKU so they can sell cheaper PlayStation 5s, it stands to reason that there is plenty there to go on. So we're going to say this one's about 70% likely that we're going to be seeing a PlayStation 5 Slim, very probably 2024.
Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.